Hey guys, it's Teaksy here. Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing and sharing my thoughts on whether or not I think there will ever be a Call of Duty like Black Ops Cold War ever again. Now, originally I had a live commentary gameplay discussing this topic, but for some reason I don't know where it's actually gone. I think I've accidentally deleted it along with some other gameplays, so I thought today I'd just sit down and just kind of talk over some pre-recorded gameplay. Now, I appreciate that Black Ops Cold War was not everybody's favourite Call of Duty, right? I know a lot of people that follow this channel are fans of the game because I'm a fan of the game, and a lot of my content has been around Cold War. But when I kind of talk about Cold War and talk about it in quite high regard, I am talking more about the finished product, right? I appreciate again that Cold War, when it first released, was not an amazing game, right? Treyarch got pulled in at the last minute. The game felt really unfinished, you know, very unpolished in the early days. And then obviously with the normal sort of skill-based matchmaking in the way Call of Duty's go now in the first sort of 4 or 5 months, Cold War was no better than any of the other Call of Duties, in my opinion, in the last 5 or 6 years, in that first sort of 4 to 5 month period. But over time, obviously the skill-based matchmaking dropped. They added more content to the game. They got on top of the game. It felt a lot more like polished towards the end, as you would expect, and is one of my all-time favourite Call of Duties, right? Even right up there with some of the Call of Duties from the golden era, right? Which I never thought I would say that about a modern Call of Duty. Now, don't get me wrong, Black Ops Cold War ticked a lot of boxes for me personally as a player, which is why, you know, I kind of rate it so highly. And again, I can understand that for some people this might not have ticked the same boxes, but I think Cold War proved to me that modern Call of Duties can still be good when they, you know, fit you as a player, right? When everything that you want from a Call of Duty is included in a game, it can still be fun, specifically once that skill base drops, because if a game is good and it ticks a lot of boxes for you, the only other thing that really overhangs it these days is skill-based matchmaking, and ultimately that gets better as time goes on. But anyways, the video is not really about glazing Cold War. I kind of just want to talk about whether or not there'll be another game like Cold War, purely because Cold War had very, very basic movement, right? It had just one sprint. There was no tack sprint. It had the slide cancelling, but it wasn't as fluent, I'll be honest, you know, as Modern Warfare 19 and Vanguard and Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 6, all those CODs. It didn't feel as fluent as that. It felt a little bit more clunky. You didn't slide quite as far, you didn't slide quite as fast, but it was still nice, right? It still felt good. Like I said, when I say it felt clunky, it didn't feel bad. It just didn't feel, like I say, as fluid as some of the other Call of Duties. And with the basic movement in this game, it was obviously a lot slower. The game had a real kind of arcade feel to it. You know, it had some really, really awesome maps, some really awesome weapons, awesome camos. It felt like the most traditional Call of Duty as well in terms of the way the spawns worked. I felt like the spawns in this game, you know, of course, I always hold my hands up and say I do play a lot of Demolition, where the spawns are obviously quite sticky. But I feel like even in the other game modes, Domination, Hardpoint, you know, the spawns kind of worked as you'd expect them to across those modes. And I think for me, like, I know that not everybody will have liked the movement in Cold War, right? And the movement is quite a big part of this topic of conversation, because with the Omni movement that we've now got in Black Ops 6, I genuinely just don't see the other studios not taking on Omni movement moving forwards, right? I just generally don't see that. I could be wrong, and obviously there's, you know, a lot of debate about whether or not we'll ever see another jetpack Call of Duty. But for me personally, like, you know, Black Ops Cold War really stands out in the last sort of 5 or 6 years as being like the closest we've had to the old school Call of Duty titles. The really, like, you know, back in the day when everything was really basic, things were a lot slower, and I would admit that I don't think that Cold War's movement fits Warzone, and I think that Warzone does need faster movement because obviously the maps are a lot bigger, and, you know, I don't agree with tack sprint. I feel like they should just increase the sprint speed in Warzone to match whatever tack sprint speed is. I don't think you need all these different, you know, speeds and different sprints going on. So again, you know, I appreciate that. I think Warzone doesn't really suit Cold War's movement, but I just wonder if we'll ever go back to a Call of Duty with basic movement ever again, right? You know, I know you can never please everybody in the Call of Duty community. If it's boots on the ground, if it's omni movement, if it's jetpacks. You know, you're never going to please everybody, but it feels like outside of Cold War, there hasn't really been much variation in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. Like Modern Warfare 2019, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6 were all tac sprint, slide cancelling Call of Duties. Obviously, Black Ops 6 has got the added Omni movement in there, but generally speaking, those games feel very similar. I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but the movement generally feels very, very fast, very, very fluent. You know, you're just constantly moving, you know, constantly at high speed. The games are very chaotic, specifically in like Black Ops 6, where I don't think the maps really suit the movement. And I think that's what Cold War did really well, is that the maps suited the movement, where you could play like 6v6 on a slightly bigger map, and the pace of the game just felt awesome, right? It didn't feel too slow, it didn't feel too chaotic. It allowed you to have kind of different play styles, and yeah, I just found it weird. Like Modern Warfare 2 was obviously a little bit weird. The movement in that game was awful. I mean, that game in general was just awful. I don't even like to even talk about the existence of that game. It was absolutely dreadful. But yeah, I was just kind of interested to see kind of what people think. I know, like I say, a lot of people on this channel, you know, are fans of Black Ops Cold War. But yeah, I just don't know. I mean, maybe it's a sign of the times, right? You know, getting a little bit older, been playing Call of Duty for a lot of years. You know, I appreciate that COD's never going to be like it once was. And like I say, with Black Ops Cold War, kind of proof in the pudding that, you know, I can still enjoy a modern COD if it ticks all the boxes for me, which that game did. But yeah, I just don't know if we're ever going to, you know, move away from Omni movement now. And I just feel like every Call of Duty is just going to feel the same if we have tac sprint and really fast sliding and the Omni movement. How do you kind of, you know, differentiate between the games? They're all just going to feel the same. So anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you've enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. If you're brand new around here and want to find your way back for more, please do consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, guys, I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.